It is Thursday. It is July the 3rd, and this is the DLLS Stars Podcast, our final one for the week because we have the 4th of July off, as everybody else should. And how about that? A long weekend coming up on the horizon. Alongside Craig Ludwig and Sam Nesser, I'm Owen Newkirk. Our producer is Elijah Smith. Before we get to our big guest, Glen Gulutzan, the head coach of the Dallas Stars, are joining us right about now. Don't forget that the $36 DLLS Die Hard Make Your Move sale is still going on at least through the 4th of July. So use the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on our YouTube channel, as we can offer our best discount on becoming a Die Hard by signing up right now, and it will not last for very much longer. With that being said, we have to wait because I was just texted that Glen Gulutzan was ready, and then he got knocked off. So we'll have to wait a second. So they have to do a quick restart. So we're going to have Gulutzan on here in the first segment, and I can't wait to talk to Gully. Obviously, he was introduced yesterday, and we did a big, couple of segments about it on the show. And then he's been doing the rounds. And Luds, that's kind of a big thing when you're first introduced, is you got to make the impression, that first impression with the fans.
Yeah, I'm sure he's like, man, I can't wait for this 48 hours to be over with all this stuff so I can just kind of relax and settle in.
What about you, Sammy?
Yeah, I think it's a key. We talked about it yesterday, how he won the press conference or whatever you wanted to call it. I think this is an important time for a organization in the city that is, upset of coming up short again. So this is something they want to hear. They want to hear what he has to say. And I think a refreshing look on things is what kind of everybody wants. And he's been given it. I just listened to him talking to Razor on their little Victory Plus interview, listened to him a little bit on the ticket, listened to him obviously from the presser a couple times yesterday. I like the way he's approaching things. He seems very, very understanding of the fact, everything that's happening with him, understanding of the fact that it was too early for him last time, understanding the fact that this is a new look for him, not a second go around. This is a new thing for him, a new team. He's a new Glen Gulutzan, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say and then see him get down to work here in late August.
All right. Without further ado, I've been told that the Dallas Stars new head coach is in fact connected to our show. So let's welcome in Glen Gulutzan to the DLLS Stars podcast. Nope, he's not. Oh, Elijah, I thought he said okay. Well, we'll false start. One of the things, Luds, that I saw I watched some of the same things that Sam did, right? I listened to, he appeared on the tick, obviously watched the press conference. Razor on Victory Plus had a sit-down interview in the locker room, or as Razor likes to call it, the dressing room. And they had a bunch of conversations, and there's a lot of stuff in there. And we'll get to some of those with Gully once he's connected. But I also kind of got the feeling that he is very aware of what he wants to do with this team. And it's something I want to ask him about, how you prepare and what you do for an NHL job head coaching interview, because you kind of have to sell yourself to the GM that's hiring first before you worry about selling yourself to the players and the fans.
Well, I think you got to sell yourself and they got to sell you. And, and I always go back to when you get in there for the interviews and a coach or the general manager asks you, how do you expect to play the game? How do you see our team playing, and tweaks and things like that? And, if I was interviewing, the first thing I would say to the general manager is, let me take a look at what kind of players we got here. Because I think the players at the end of the day dictate how you do a lot of things. If you want to have a certain system, you want to have a certain power play, whatever it may be, you have to have the guys that can play within that, what you're trying to do. And if you don't have those, and he doesn't, your general manager is not able to pull that kind of a player off or two players off, then you got to probably go to plan B. And I think that was a nice thing that that I heard out of Gully in the press conference. He said, there was a couple different ways that he would want to play. There might be 2 or 3 different ways. And so, I talked about that yesterday. I like the way that shakes out.
Okay. We're going to try this again because we did the false introduction. And now we're going to try the second, hopefully not second false introduction. Let's welcome in the new Dallas Stars head coach, Glen Gulutzan, to the DLLS Stars podcast. As Gully is there, he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
Glen, I'm going to, first of all, thank you very much for joining our show today, and we will get to see you in person shortly. Unfortunately, all of us decided to take some of our summer travel and do remote shows. I'm in upstate New York. Luds is in Wisconsin. Sam is in California, and none of us were in person for your press conference yesterday. So apologies. We will do a proper introduction at a later time.
Oh, no apologies. I was actually glad. I talked to a lot of people yesterday, so I didn't. I'm maybe glad you guys weren't there.
Luds,
hey, Gully, I can tell you right now,
Gully,
if I'd have been in Dallas, I wouldn't have been there anyways. So, not a chance.
All right, Luds, I know you were dying to ask Gully about a issue that we've been talking about on the show all season, especially through the playoffs. So take it away.
Well, no, Gully, I love all the things that you said, obviously, in your press conference. Apparently Jim did too. So, that's all that matters. But there was the one comment you said about the 1%er, the 1%. I want a little bit of 1% more. So I look at the Dallas Star, and that's on the physical side of things, which I've been trying to think about a little bit. When you look at this last year and the MO kind of from the team in the last couple of years, is Dallas was the team that got hit the most last season and delivered the least. So you think you could change that to like 3 or 4%?
Yeah, Luddy, you never had to worry about that the way you played. And I had your boys too, and they played hard and physical. And in this league, it's where you put your energy is where you get a little bit of pop. And we are certainly going to put some energy in there. I'm not coming in here to run 5,000 different new systems. The team had 106 points. And at the end of the day, systems don't win. A new system wins every year, and then someone copies it, and then they think that's the flavor of the week. But really what wins every year is that hand-to-hand combat and that grittiness that can kind of push you over the top. We probably saw, I got to see it firsthand when we played Florida. That was a tough series, and you guys probably all watched it. But where I'm going to put some energy in that 1% is just from every guy to be a little bit more in people's gear, in people's hands, a little bit more physical, finishing more checks. And when I do, I'm hoping that you do that with 18 skaters, then, you're getting an 18-degree pop. Right. So I'm asking a little bit from each guy. So because really what we do is when the playoffs start, everyone starts to do it a little bit, right? They start to do it more than they did through the 82. And then it's like, who can almost stay with it the longest? So I think we have to run some of that through our 82 so that it's more of a natural thing rather than an unnatural thing. And now that doesn't mean we're going to be running around body checking and Tom Wilsoning it and being that kind of physical, but we do need to amp that up in our ability to battle for pucks, get pucks stopped, be physical on guys. And I think that creates camaraderie too.
Great.
Then going off what you just said, this team, you just mentioned it, 106 points. They've been close. They've been in the Western Conference Final 3 years in a row. You don't have to change everything. How do you balance that though with the fact that obviously there's some things that do have to change because they have come up short 3 years in a row as well?
Yeah. So if I get off the 1 degree thing, and then I'm looking for this, the second part is there a couple little things and tweaks that may have been an issue here, and I look at just a couple of things I'd like to forecheck just a little bit differently, and that goes into the physicality part. There's probably a defensive zone tweak that I'm going to put in, but those aren't going to get you 8 more points in the standings. They just really aren't. The 1 degree thing is probably going to get you the most. The second most in my mind, and I just got into meetings with the coaches, is can we extract better performance from some younger players or other players by rejigging or giving them a little bit more confidence. I think all you guys know, the defense for me is a strength here, but can we get a little bit more from some young guys? Can we get a little pop from some of our young players? I look at a player like Bish here in the playoffs, who brought an element of physicality, a big, huge body. You need those bodies come playoff time. So our secondary, if I put it in order, it's the 1 degree. Can we get an internal pop from some other players here? Can we grow some younger players in? Can we put some veteran players in a better situation? And then the third one then is, can we tweak a few little systems? But I mean, can that get us 4 more points? Yeah, it can, but it still leaves us in the same playoff position, right? We do have to add in that 1 degree so that we're better equipped to play in the playoffs.
You just mentioned the coaching staff, and I think that that's a fascinating group that you guys have assembled. And I know that Jim said yesterday that there's a chance that you two might collaborate on bringing in at least one more. But I would like to hear, you talked when they asked you yesterday about who's going to do what roles, but just as you start your coaches meetings, Neil Graham joins the staff. Alain Nasruddin has been here and is obviously, as you said yesterday, highly respected for his penalty kill work with the Stars. And then of course, Jeff Reese is the goalie whisperer around here, and you definitely don't want to mess with that. Your two video coaches. I know it's very early, but how do you feel about, and as you said, you've worked with some of the, marquee coaches around the NHL, future Hall of Famers, maybe current ones even. What do you think about your coaching staff so far?
I love my coaching staff because like the league, it's about energy. 82 games, it's hard. It's about keeping the players' energy up. We've got good energy. Got a young guy in Neil that's coming in. He's going to do the power play. You got a veteran guy in Nazi, and obviously the real veteran guy. I'm already bugging him in research. So those guys help you, right? So they really help you in trying to get some energy and creativity throughout the year. I'm going to let those guys do their thing. Certainly I can help and get some input because we're all kind of everyone's still growing. You're always growing as a coach or as a player. You want to keep pushing it. We may bring in another guy, but it has to be the right fit. That guy for me probably has a skill set that we need in a certain area, whether it be skills or that, or it's a guy that's really connected, has a lot of games in the league. That can come in and help you, especially relate to the players and NHL guys that have that are in the trenches, right? Somebody with NHL experience. So as a player, we're going to look at that. We haven't got there yet. We're just meeting with this staff here today just to kind of get our assignments before we head out for summer.
Gully, if the season started today with the addition of Radek Faksa, which I'm guessing you're probably pleased with that move, and
yes,
adding that guy in the middle of the ice there, down the middle of the ice, you'd have Hintz, you'd have Duchesne, you'd have Wyatt Johnston, Radek, and then you've also got Sam Steele. Now,
yes,
if you look at the Duchesne with the move of Marchman gone, you've got Duchesne and Tyler over there. Would you look at one of those guys? Like, would it be a Sam Steele that could play the left wing, or are you still waiting to see if something else happens here?
Yeah, like right now, I'm penciling it in. Obviously, Luddy, I'm penciling it in that, it might be Sam that goes over there. I'd like Radek. Obviously, I know he's a great penalty killer. He's a big body. You like to have those big bodies up the middle to play down low. So, I'm going to start him there. I love that of the team. I love that we're kind of, built through the middle, D and built through the middle because I'll tell you guys a story that I won't get off track, but I was walking down that ramp, that ramp, Luddy, in LA, where you go down into the ramp in LA. And I ran into Daryl Sutter in about 2014. He was coaching. I was in Vancouver at the time, and he'd just gotten, I think, Carter back from injury, and he had another center out. It could have been Richards. Both of them were out for a little bit. And we were walking down the ramp, and he goes, Gully, I said, well, it's good you got those players back. And he goes to me, yeah, Gully, this league, it's all about D and centers, right? You and I can play the wings. So, I am glad that, Sam Steele, the reason I say that is, he's played center. But you can always take a centerman and put him on the wing. So I am thinking about that, Luddy, exactly, that there's probably going to be a movement to the wing for maybe Sam. And what I love about that player, and I got to watch him. Remember, he's a Western League player in Regina, and then he was in Minnesota for a bit, and he was around, and I thought he really flourished in Minnesota and here. Is he's kind of like that utility knife, and every coach likes the utility knife. Some guy that can go flip flop from center, right, and left. And he's got hockey IQ and he's competitive. So I think that's maybe a way what I'm looking at right now, but it's in pencil.
Glenn, last year, a big message with Pete DeBoer and the whole staff was you can't just go right back to the Western Conference Final. As much as this team just wanted to be right back there, trying to beat Edmonton in 2 more wins, you have to start over again. You got to start at camp and build it all through there. I believe you call it "Be Where My Boots Are" is something that you talked about a lot. I'd love to hear you elaborate on that and maybe how that kind of mentality can help a team that is in that situation where they're going to have to go through the ups and downs and can't just start over where they were at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, you got to put the work in. That's why I'm trying to change the focus a little bit here into that 1 degree focus. And let's put it there, because we lived the exact same thing in Edmonton, just with what I went through. We lost in Game 7, 2-1 a year ago. And when the season started, it was even in the coaches. We were walking out there and we go, can you imagine we went from Game 7 Stanley Cup final to our first exhibition game? It's like you didn't want to be there. So that has to get out, because you can get stale. You don't want to lose that edge. So we've got to kind of change the focus for me a little bit. And obviously a coaching change changes the focus a little bit of the players, but we can't just go back there. We got to build to get back there. It's a great point. That it's a real thing. I know in Edmonton last year, they just wanted to play Game 7 over again.
Yeah.
Glenn, you had an interesting quote that I heard you say, and I can't remember if it was to the guys on the hard line over at the ticket yesterday or if it was to Razor on the Victory Plus, but you said this, I thought this was just a fantastic line: execution of the system, not the system itself. And we need to get better at the things that require no talent. Can you just go into a little bit of detail about what you're talking about there?
Yeah, just, 2 Stanley Cup finals, obviously we lose. We lost to Las Vegas and Edmonton. They won the Stanley Cup. So, and then we lost to Colorado and they won the Stanley Cup. So we kind of went through that gamut, and each of those teams played a different system. Each of them played a different way. And so it's not the system that wins. So it's kind of self-explanatory, that portion of it. But what I thought won is like the stuff that we're talking, the 1 degree stuff here, the stuff that requires no talent. It does become hand-to-hand combat. I used to say to the guys too, and I said this with Razor, it's like everything your dad told you when you were growing up. Hey, finish that check, get to the net, shoot the puck, make sure you're coming back hard. Hey, you got to win that battle. You got to get that puck out. All that becomes the playoffs the farther you go. And that doesn't require any talent, right? That doesn't require talent. It requires a mindset, and a dedication to the craft of getting really good at the stuff that requires no talent. That's what it means to me. The stuff that you, because all the X's and O's kind of go out the window when you get down to the end.
Hey, Gully, I these guys can wear you out. I know you got to get going. I just want to say I'm so pleased to have you back here. I think the first go around was, well, I'm not supposed to say shit show, but I'm going to say it was a shit show first time around. And with even for Newey too. I mean, that the whole situation. So, but I do think that things happen for a reason, and you've got some skins on the wall now, right? And so it's going to be a better situation for you and for the group. So congrats on the whole gig.
Hey, Luddy, I appreciate that, because you were around when it was all going on, so and had the boys there in Austin, and we had good runs there. It's a different time. I do have a few skins on the wall now, Luddy, for sure. Got booted around a bit.
In that vein, I'm going to jump in real quick here because Gully, I missed you. We crossed paths when you were in Dallas, but I came to Cedar Park 2 years after you. It was your second year. It was the lockout shortened year of 12-13, and Willie Desjardins and Doug Lister were our coaches. And I know you coached with Willie first in Dallas, and then later on, you guys flipped roles in Vancouver. And I just had to ask because we won the Calder Cup in 14 with Willie and Doug, and they were phenomenal. And then you had a chance to work with them. And I just think it shows how much you guys are all professionals, that it can't be easy to go from being the boss of a guy to then reporting to him. And yet I'm sure that was all beneficial for every party.
Oh, yeah. You got to check your ego at the door here. And Willie, he's such a good man. He was a real good man, easy to work with, easy to work for. You can't survive in this league when you're a guy like me trying to work your way up. If you're all worried about your ego, you got to check that. And I think that even helps you coaching when you don't have a big ego, you're willing to work with the players and put your foot down when you need to. I think that all helps. But so working with Willie, I enjoyed it. Loved it.
Hey, Gully.
Oh,
yeah. You leaving?
Oh, boy.
What's up, Gully?
Holy.
How you been?
Good. How are you?
Look at what we're doing.
We're going on the boat.
Oh yeah, 4th of July, coming up, huh?
Yeah, congrats on the hire.
Thank you very much. What are you up to?
Oh, just working now. But
Are you?
Yeah, just working now. But
Okay, that's it. He's got to go.
What? Hey.
I know. We'll see him when we get
All
out.
right.
Hey, Lottie, we'll see you, man. Good to see
Okay,
you.
all right. Good seeing you.
Glenn, thank you so much. We will do this again, and we will, when we're all actually in Dallas, we'll invite you into our studio. We can sit and chat for a little longer. But again, congratulations. We're really very appreciative that you took the time to talk to us today, and we're really looking forward to the season. I know you need some decompression. In fact, we all do. But September, we should be pretty excited. So thanks again.
Yeah, we'll ramp it
thanks,
up. Thanks, guys. I'll disappear
Gully.
for a while. Yeah, thanks.
All right, there he goes. Glen Gulutzan, the new head coach of the Dallas Stars, a Tyler Ludwig cameo appearance as well. How about that? So we've had both twins on the show. I'm sure CJ is probably a little jealous now.
They're Trevor and CJ and those guys are all in a vehicle right now driving from Minneapolis. They just landed at like 10 o'clock this morning.
So eat your heart out.
That was hilarious.
The clown act is about to arrive at 3 p.m. So
Good, just in time for the 4th.
We're getting off the grid for 3 days, so that's good news.
It is indeed. All right, up next, let's talk about what we just heard here on the DLLS Stars podcast.
Thankfully, Glen Gulutzan doesn't have to hear us do ad reads, but let's do one now. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those box stores where you go in, you're overwhelmed by all the options. Someone's helping you out that was doing something completely different the day before, and it throws you off, and you end up doing it all on yourself anyway. But Empire Today, they are flooring only. They experts in flooring and can help you find exactly what you need. And their amazing flooring pick online designer online is amazing for seeing what the floor will look like in your home and any space with the furniture that you already have. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. You heard it right. That is a $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLS for full details.
Oh, you knocked that one out of the park, Sam. Well done. No giggles at all. Let's talk about Shady Rays. You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or maybe underneath a tire or at that Buc-ee's 3 states away if you're on a road trip. And, well, of course, you love going to a Buc-ee's in Texas for sure. Well, we've all been there. But this is not about Buc-ee's. This is about Shady Rays, and it changed the game when you find them because these sunglasses are made for real life. They're very seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and they're also not stupidly expensive. So here's the wild part. If you lose them or if you break them, even on the first day you own them, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts. Luddy's going on the boat. He can wear them there if he had them. Shady Rays is the eyewear that has your back. So we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
I'll give you a tip, guys. Don't don't try to get the clock up while you're reading an ad. Turns
Is that
out
what happened?
you end up looking at two different things and you don't know what you're reading it off of.
Luds, can you give me a bing bong?
Bing bong.
Ken Murphy Photography with a Joe Neuendijk and a 99 Cup year. Great show. Love that Gully is back in North Texas. Looking forward to this fall. Happy 4th. Thank you, Ken. And
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th of July. We're all excited about it too. Okay, let's talk about what we just heard. Luds, you obviously know Glenn. Your sons played for him. I think Trevor had more games in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. But still, that relationship, that's personal. I met him, I think, once or twice when the lockout was going on because there was no NHL games. So Brendan Dillon, Cody Eakin, Antoine Roussel all got sent down to the Texas Stars. And some of the Dallas guys with nothing else to do were kind of watching our games. But, you know, this is a totally different circumstance. So what were your first impressions of what Gully's answers were, not just in the interview just now, but also over the last 24 hours?
He's a seasoned coach. You know, I think when Gully, you know, had his opportunity here, he was fresh and younger, obviously, and eyes wide open kind of thing. And I think now that just like anybody else, I mean, they go, sometimes, you know, coaches, they go from team to team, you know, and this is one of those leagues where they kind of get recycled. But I always think that there is something good to all that because they learn about different players, they learn about different systems, and you know, they approach the game differently. And I just think he's probably going to be a more measured kind of a coach, more calm behind that bench and trust the leadership guys probably more so than he may have in the first go around. So, but there's no question that he has a plan. And like I said, one of the things I like the most, and you know, I've said it a few times now, is when he's got a couple different ways to go about it. And that just goes to what playoff is about adjustments. I mean, the regular season is supposed to be about adjustments too, but you know, and you got to be careful, I think, in the first 82, because you don't want to give everything away. You know, if you're playing, you know, I wanted to ask him about Edmonton. Trust me, I wanted to ask him his opinion of how the whole Nurse chop on the foot and then the Bouchard chop on the foot. And I didn't think that's fair right now to do that. But again, like with him, you know, I would think he'd be chomping at the bit to play Edmonton, you know, because I'm guessing, and I'm not talking the playoffs, you know, I just think that first preseason, or not, they probably won't play in preseason, the first regular season game, there will be some things that I would think that we should pay attention to, but he's going to throw in things there that he knows he can get under the skin of a couple guys, you know, especially the two big guys. Because they're no player is perfect. There's something that Glen Gulutzan knows about what's the kryptonite for Connor McDavid. Is there one? You know, who knows? There's something. So those are the kinds of the things I'm looking forward to see what he does from game to game through the first 20, then in the next 30, and then as you come down the stretch, getting ready for the playoffs, where this team goes from being a more detailed team, starting from their end. And he even mentioned something. He's going to change something in the D zone. Well, again,
you lit up when that happened.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder could have saw that there needed to be something changed in the D zone at times. So I'm anxious to see that. And I don't think there's just going to be one little switch unless it just continues to work, you know, against every opponent. So those are the things I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, Luds, you brought up Edmonton. I'm really curious if, like, I loved his answer. The reason I asked about that kind of be where your boots are thing is because I know that I can't remember the exact messaging that the Stars had, but it was a big topic in the fall to not just try to go into the season thinking we're going to get right back to the Western Conference Final and be able to get another shot. They did, but you can't approach it that way. And I loved his answer talking about it because it can't be understated that he's coming off of the same thing twice in a row. He's coming off of a worse loss realistically, because he's coming off of Stanley Cup final defeats when they believed their team was capable of winning the whole thing. There's no way that doesn't help, right? Because imagine if they hired a coach that came from, let's say, the Anaheim Ducks. You can't come into a team that has this desperation, this anger, this learning, all the stuff that comes from losing and getting so close, and just think the coach is going to just adapt that and become that. He already has that fire. He's got that fire personally to win and get over that hump. Now he comes into a team that is trying to do the same thing. I got to imagine that gives them an edge and that keeps them at least on the same page from day one.
listening to some of the things that he's saying, I'm guessing, sorry, Owen, I'm guessing that, he understands that after you have there's only one team that can really come back this next season and say, this is how we're going to play the same way, because there's only one team that won. So you have to come back and you have to do something different. Like, how this year when we had some guys that got off the slow starts, right? And so we're talking about players that think that, man, they had a good season last year. They can come in here and they're just going to pick up right where they left off. It doesn't work like that. And I think it's the same thing from a coach's standpoint. You look and you go, yeah, that Dallas team, we beat them in the conference final. So they're not just perfect. They're not ready to go. There's something that needs to be tweaked, needs to be fixed. And so, he's going to do, I would be doing the same thing. You're going to spend a lot of your summer watching the games that Dallas has played last year and going over, yeah, we got to change this. And he already knows a couple things, obviously, from them as an opponent. But there's other things you take a bigger dive into, and even like the little holes in, should this guy play on this line? If I added this guy to this line, is Robo the right guy to play, with Hintz and Rantanen? Do they need somebody with a little bit more bite that can do some dirty work on the left-hand side and create a little bit more space and draw more attention to? All those kind of things.
And to that point, Luds, I of the things I've listened to before he came on our show, nobody asked him about who's going to fill that top 6 left wing role. And I really applaud you that you were able to get kind of a pretty decent answer of he's considering Sam Steele there. I don't mind that, but a lot of coaches could have just punted and said, well, we're looking at everything, we'll see. It kind of makes sense.
Well, he kind of left that open because, again,
Sure.
I don't know Steele's history. Has he ever played on the wing? To me, it's always easier for a centerman to go to the wall versus the other way around, because they're used to being, responsible here and there. And when you get on the wall, you have a certain thing that you're supposed to do, right? In the D zone and offensive zone, you go to the front of the net and you dig pucks out. So but I think what that does is, by having him on there, now all of a sudden you've got that line. Should they do that? Now you got 3 centermen too on that line, former center. Tyler played in the middle. So I think there's a lot of things there. And I think Steele, and again, like I said, I think there needs to be a little bite on every line. And I think Steele adds that, and a little chaos. And that's what Steele brings to that. So, but the only reason that makes sense to me is that the other 4 guys are all centermen. I just think that's a natural. Let them play where they play.
Up next, boy, we're going to let Luddy cook because he missed our 4th of July, or not our 4th of July, our free agency July 1st show. And so we're going to let him wax poetically about some of the big stories that he couldn't get to talk about on Tuesday, next here on the DLS Stars Podcast.
Well, since my kid has got that bag of ice, he's loading up the cooler right now. I can see it. And there's Bud Light in there, and there's about 4 other things in there too. So might as well talk about a little bit of Bud Light. What's up, Stars fans? Well, you just saw heard the interview with that new guy, Gully. So we'll see how he shakes out. I guarantee he likes a little Bud Light. I know he does. Enjoying the game should be easy, so don't overthink. And if things go sideways, he's going to be drinking a lot more than he should, especially in the market. What to wear? Done. Toss on that Stars jersey. Get that number 25. I saw Gully's got his new jersey with 25 on it. Go grab that one. Don't know what to serve your friends? That's easy. Just pick up some pizza from your favorite go-to place. We get it from the bowling alley here, as a matter of fact. They got great pizza. And grab some Bud Light to stock the fridge. See, just that easy, just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Do it responsibly. All boaters do. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All right, let's talk about game time now, because you know what's happening? Soccer. Lots of soccer.
Yeehaw.
Your favorite. FIFA Club World Cup knockout games. The quarterfinals are going on as we speak. And the Gold Cup, CONCACAF, USA, Mexico final on Sunday. So whether you're watching the Club World Cup or the Gold Cup, you need to go there in person if it's coming to a city near you, or if you're going to even make a pilgrimage to see them where they're being played around the United States. You need Game Time to do that. Game Time will get you a special 10% off exclusive zone deals with these matchups. Plus, of course, you can see exactly what you're going to get. Tickets faster and easier, even the hard to get ones, Last minute deals, you can save up to 60% for buying last minute tickets for sports as well as concerts, comedy, and theater. You always see where it's going to be because of the seat locations and the all-in pricing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets using Game Time Picks. Just download the app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Hey, Sam, download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Man, he's got the enthusiasm back.
Yeah.
That's good. I like it. All right,
Almost a
Luddy.
weekend.
We could keep going on the topics around Gully because there's a lot there, but I think we have to save a few things for the rest of the summer. So what I'd like to do is offer you an opportunity to platform this because you didn't really get a chance to share your opinions on the big storylines around day one of free agency, which was on Tuesday. And we won't tease you too much about why, but let's talk about first and foremost.
Grass day. What do you expect?
I didn't agree to that.
Florida Panthers. They were able to keep everybody together that they wanted, right? We talked about Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad. To a lesser extent, they did re-up Thomas Nosek, but the fact that they thought that one of those big three was going to be a casualty of their salary cap, and they all re-signed. And I remember seeing, I think it was yesterday, Bill Zito, the Florida general manager, saying, everybody was talking about we didn't have enough space. He goes, I don't know what they were talking about. We definitely had space. So what's your thought on the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion sticking together for a rather long period of time now?
Well, there's space. You just got to be willing to pay people into eternity. You know, I mean, as they're going up the gates, they're bringing their bags with them. So I guess the checks goes up there too. But you know what? I think when you look across the coast there, so to speak, and they understand that with the team that they have in this era, there is a good opportunity to win that third one. And so what they're doing is they're kind of selling out. You know, they're saying, listen, we're going to find a way. We believe that the band that we got here, it has all the right instruments to it. And we believe that, especially in Marchand, they know he's not playing 4 years from now. And if he is, he ain't going to be anywhere near what he is. And who knows, maybe he will be. But the bottom line is what they saw in him is they saw something like a spark plug. They saw something that, you know, you can either be cancer or you can be infectious. And I think he's an infectious kind of player. And I think he took to that community and they said, we're going to make it work. Even if we're going to give you a 6-year deal or 7, whatever they want, we're going to make them numbers work. And we're going to have to bite the bullet at some point. But if we can go out and win another final or at least be there and win another one for the fan base, you're basically saying we're leaving everything on the table. We respect the fans that have come here and we're doing everything we can. So, I mean, to me, I think if you're a player, you absolutely love it. You love it that they're giving you another opportunity to be part. And that might be since the new NHL, whatever you want to call it, that you can actually call a team a dynasty in the salary cap era and all that. I don't know if it's 2. I think, but if you can get to 3,
You got to get to 3.
you got to get to 3. I mean, I don't know who said that, but there's a couple other teams that are at 2. So if you can get to 3, then you're the dynasty. And maybe Zito's going, you know what? I don't care how long I got to pay these guys. I got robbed from my general manager of the year award. I'm going to take another run at it next year. Sorry, Jim.
Sam, I'm looking at this grouping of Florida Panthers, and they are over the cap right now, which they're allowed to. They've got to clear out almost $3 million in space. They have 13 forwards on their roster with Mackie Samoskevich, their RFA 22-year-old, not yet re-signed. That could be a problem. 7D. They did sign Jeff Petrie to a minimum deal with a couple performance bonuses. And then, of course, they picked up Danil Tarasov as their backup goalie at just over $1 million because they've got to have somebody behind Sergei Bobrovsky. So there still is some minor surgery needed to get this team under the cap unless somebody goes on LTIR, which, again, will at least for one more season be the law of the land.
Take advantage of it, right, Sam?
I was going to say, and I know one guy that could definitely use some time off, and that's their number 19, who seems to be dealing with broken everything all the time and playing through it. So I just think it's crazy that they were able to do what they did. I mean, I don't know anybody that would have said this Florida Panthers team is going to find a way to get Ekblad, Marchand, and Bennett all back. Ekblad obviously had to take a little bit of a discount. I mean, I think he was going to get some big numbers if he was on the market. I know he was interested in other cities, but just to look at that team, Luds said it perfectly. They can go into this year and play the exact same way. They can putter along a little bit. They're going to have their slow start again, probably like they did last year, where it took them until basically Christmas or January to really start rolling. That's fine. They don't care. Finish third, finish top wild card. They do not care. They will play anybody. Home ice advantage doesn't seem to matter. They go into tough buildings in the playoffs and win no matter what. It's going to be really hard to knock them off. And I just am interested to see how their year goes, because last year it was exactly like what I just said. It took a lot of time, and then they were the best team in hockey, and it didn't really matter. They weren't racking up points every night, but every time they played, it just beat the crap out of whoever they played against. And then in the playoffs, they didn't miss a beat. And outside of going down 2-0 to Toronto, they looked like the best team again. So it's crazy to think that they are just going to roll it back here. Like you said, they'll have to do something. But I expect them to be the beast of the East again. And if Corey Perry has anything to say about it, it's going to be Kings and Panthers in the Stanley Cup final.
Wouldn't you think that organization, once you get past maybe like the 40 game mark and say they're moving along pretty well, they're in second place or something like that. Now for the next 30, 20, 25 games, there's going to be one of those 4 top guys that gets hurt every week. And you know what? You're just going to miss 3 games. You got a little back spasm here. We're going to give you a little rest. I mean, I think that's where that team has shown that, and everybody knows that. I mean, you don't have to finish first overall in the league. You just got to get in. You just get to the dance. Would you like to have home ice? Sure. But that team proved it doesn't matter. And, so I could see them saying, you know what, Brad, we're going to give you like 8 days off. Your back is sore. We're giving you that off. And Barkov, Barkey, you're going to just, 2 games here or maybe 3 or something like that. And that way they find a way to keep those guys fresh when they get to the last, 5, 6, 7 games of the regular season again.
Can the Stars do that? Can the Stars take some of that the Stars have essentially run out of gas now 3 years in a row. Can they maybe take some of that, resting people a little bit here and there?
The big question is, can you convince the players that need that to do that, right? It was almost serendipitous to have Aaron Ekblad serve a 20-game suspension for performance-enhancing violations, because he went into the playoffs fresher than he would have if he had to grind those last 20 games going in. The Matthew Tkachuk thing you mentioned was interesting, because I don't know. I feel like a lot of people misread what he said after the Stanley Cup was awarded. He said, I tore this muscle off the bone and he's dealing with it. I understood that to be at the Four Nations. And it wasn't that he did that and was playing through that in the playoffs. It was he did that, and that's why he was trying to limp through and shouldn't have been on the bench for that final for the U.S. against Canada. But then you're sitting there going, like, he was in recovery and rehabbing and then starting, and as he said, he didn't feel good in the first round, but got better and better as the playoffs went on. It wasn't as if he had the injury and then he played through that in April, May, and June. And I always thought that sounded like some of the people and the pundits sort of misconstrued that as, like for example, Rope Hintz fractured his foot and was playing through that in real time. It's not as though Rope fractured his foot in February and then rehabbed his way back to being able to play. Right. But still, like you said, Tkachuk does seem to pick up a pile of injuries, so there's always that.
Well, but you know what they're going to do with Tkachuk, and he even made the comment, like, he wasn't going to have surgery right at the end of the year. He goes, I'm not going to miss all these celebrations.
Yeah,
they already know. Well, the reason I believe that he can say that is they already know it's going to be a long time. Once he gets whatever he's got to get fixed.
That's a good point.
It could be 4 or 5 months. What's the difference if it's another 3 weeks? So he goes and he has a good time, enjoys it. And as long as he's ready, like I said, these players today, if he can be ready with 10 games to go in the regular season, or maybe, again, maybe he's not ready because, salary cap things. So he's not ready till it starts. So, and he'll still be an effective player. Should he not even play 82 games? His 83 is game 1 for him. So I'm sure that had a lot to go into. We can get this guy this money. We can get this guy money, so we'll see.
Luds,
he's not feeling the pain right now. I'll tell you that.
Right.
That's for sure. Luds, the other big storyline on the day actually before, it was supposed to be the day of, but it happened in the evening. Mitch Marner, the sign and trade to Vegas. And now he's a Golden Knight, 8 years, $12 million per. What do you think Marner's going to feel and experience getting away from the melting pot, that boiling over of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and being able to be in Vegas for now the next 8 years?
Well, I think the first thing is he's getting away from some criticism. He seems like the whipping guy, even though he gets 100 points every year. You know what I mean? I mean, his big knock obviously is what happens in the playoffs. But I just think that he's not under a magnifying glass. I mean, once he got there, I think there's fans that just are waiting to jump on top of him, and I don't know why, because he's one of the top 4 on that team, obviously, maybe the top 2 or 3. But I think there's going to be a freshness to his game. I believe that. Look at the numbers that Jack Eichel and him, if they play together, that they're going to put up on the board. You know what I mean? And again, I just you look at the way he's the playmaker guy, and obviously he's good at the other end of the rink. And I just commend Vegas. It seems like every year they find a way to make something work and something fit. And they're willing to give up a couple guys that they probably really like, and they got to give up a defenseman, they got to give up a top 6 forward that they really like, and but they look at it and they weigh it and they go, well, you know what, this guy can bring this to us. I mean, so we got to sit here and we got to talk about it. So every year they seem to find something. So good on them. But I think Marner's going to be a freer player. I think we're going to see more of the young Mitch Marner when he came into the league as 4 or 5 years, where everything was just kind of carefree. Now you could see it. He'd get back to the bench and he'd be screaming, and his stick he was a frustrated guy, mainly because of the press and the people, that everything that they're reading. It's a hard way to play.
Well, we are going to talk about a whole bunch of NHL news and notes here in just a moment here on the DLS Stars podcast. So don't go anywhere. Let's start with the ball knower bonus. It's back here at DLS, and we have a new challenge for you. You can win a gift card to the ALLCITY merch store if you make your pick correctly. Here's how it works. First, pick the winner. Well, who do you think is going to win the MLB All-Star Game, which is coming up in about 12 days, July 15th? Then you browse our store and make a purchase of at least $25 or more. If your pick wins, you'll win a gift card for the same amount as your original order. Here's the important thing. You must click on our link. It's in the chat. It's in the show YouTube description to bet and get your gift card. So who do you think will win the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which is on July 15th at Truist Park in Atlanta? For all the ball knowers out there, make your pick, place an order, and if you pick correctly, you're going to get a gift card from us for the same amount as your order. That is the ball knower bonus. And that leads us right into our DLLS Die Hard sale, which is $36 make your move sale for the NBA and NHL draft season and now free agency. It's good through at least tomorrow. Could be extended. We don't know yet, but at least through tomorrow. Don't wait to make sure it's extended. If you've been thinking about being a DLS diehard, do it now. And not only will you get a free DLLS t-shirt for signing up for your first year of being a diehard, you will also get 20% off other merchandise. So become a diehard, then buy the merch that you've been looking for at a discount and do the ball knower, and you can get even further gift cards. I think that's a really good hack. You can get the Otter shirt, the Finnish Mafia if you're a Stars fan, the Wyatt 16-bit, the Mikko finisher shirt, the Captain, the Moose. All of those are available. Great looking shirts. And of course, all of the writing that Sam has, that Sean does for the Stars, that we have from Clarence for the Cowboys, and of course, Tim for the Mavs, and Jeff for the Rangers. All right, guys, NHL news and notes time, and there's a lot going on, and I want to start in Vancouver, Luds, because when I saw that Brock Besser, who I thought would be, other than maybe some injury issues, one of the top free agent forward targets out there, 7 years, 7.25, circles back and stays with the Canucks. Did that surprise you as much as it did me?
Well, it did, because I thought Billy Guerin was going after him in Minnesota. And so I'm guessing the dollars wasn't where he wanted it to be. But and it seemed like he wanted out, for a couple of years. You'd see those comments quite a bit. But again, he apparently loves Vancouver. And I guess when you got close, I know he was looking somewhere around a 9 when it first started. And apparently the market wasn't around 9. And so and whatever Minnesota was throwing at him wasn't in the neighborhood. So as long as he stays healthy and, he can put the puck in the net.
Sam, I think it's a steal, because to Lud's point, yes, he had the injuries, but a healthy Brock Besser is one of the better players in the league. And if he is healthy, he's way above. I mean, that's close to what Jason Robertson's making now. And everybody says that's under market value.
Yeah, he was an elite player for a little bit. And then obviously I think the big one there is, can that drama that was going on there be finally pushed behind them, and can they focus on hockey there? I know that was a big thing. Those guys were not having fun coming to the rink every day throughout a lot of this season. So I think he's got a chance to go out there and score a lot of goals for that team and do so at a very nice cap hit.
The next bit of news involves the San Jose Sharks. They've been busy. They signed John Klingberg, our old buddy, 1 year at $4 million. Then they turned around and signed Dmitry Orlov, the 33-year-old defenseman, 2 years at $6.5 million each year. And before that, on July 1st, they traded for Alex Nedeljkovic from Pittsburgh for a 2028 third. And with Alexander Georgiev, a UFA, it looks like they might be looking at Nedeljkovic and then young Yaroslav Askarov, who's the 23-year-old Russian goalie, as their new tandem. Interesting moves from the Sharks, spending some money on the back end because they have it.
Well, I think they're trying to keep up with the Joneses too. You know, I mean, you're seeing what Anaheim and Beaker's doing over there, and LA, what they're doing. And so I think that in that market, you know, they've got to stay somehow competitive. And I think they've been that team at the bottom or near the bottom for long enough now. And I think they feel they can start taking some steps. And, you know, I could see where Orlov and Klinger could be a good, I believe Orlov's a lefty.
Yep,
so maybe that might be a good little pair for him. You know, I think Klinger's just trying to get a little extra money here before he hangs them up. So he's willing to go wherever it is. I don't think it's about chasing a Stanley Cup for him right now. It doesn't seem like it to me.
Hey, Sam, it's interesting because they just claimed Nick Leddy, who's 34. It seems to, if he's healthy, can still move at the speed of the NHL level. They have all these guys, and they spent a bunch of money, and they still have $22.9 million in cap space after giving a big raise, you know, for an extension for William Eklund, which doesn't kick in for another year, and bringing in Tyler Toffoli for $6 million over his run. They do have Logan Couture, who's essentially retired, but they can use for LTIR, but they don't need to right now with all this that they've brought in. They have, look at their defense: Orlov, Leddy, Klingberg, Mario Ferraro, Timothy Liljegren, Vincent Desharnais, sort of a mix of old. They have Jan Ruda, although he's a UFA. I don't know if they'll re-sign him. They're just a weird team right now in terms of where are they at in their rebuilding process.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I think the thing you see with a lot of teams when they rebuild is they're all the young talent, right? We know they have the Celebrini, the Smith, the skill. They can score some goals, but the beginning they bring in a guy like Toffoli, maybe one other one. So you have some vets around to kind of teach these guys the way, especially in their first 1 or 2 years. Then, as Luds was just saying, they want to take that next step. That next step requires more, not only depth and veterans, but more guys that can help you win some games. You know, they're not trying to win a Stanley Cup here, but they're trying to win more than whatever they won last year, which I'm assuming was like 20 games. So the way they kind of do that is by bringing in a bunch of these guys that can still play. We know, as Lud said, these are older guys. They're not going to be at the top of their game, but they can provide a little more stability. So instead of giving up 5 or 6 goals a night, they give up 3 or 4 and have a chance to win. So that's kind of what I see as that transition there. They got a chance to be a team that can compete. And I think that's their goal all season. Let's go into every game. Let's compete. Let's not get Celebrini and Will Smith absolutely destroyed while we're losing 6-1. Let's compete in the game. We might not win every one of them, but let's compete and play a little bit better hockey each day and get those Celebrini, Smiths, and those Eklund guys to that next step where they can start to run this team.
Sam, you're kind of in the neighborhood. Couldn't you just run over there and
that's about 9 hours north.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Hop on a
Hey,
plane.
Luds, he can chip it off the wall and out.
Yeah.
You know what I can do.
So
So
a big budget here. Jump on a plane.
we all know that can lead to
He'd
disaster.
probably end up back in Winnipeg if he tried
I'd
getting.
be in Denver.
Speaking of defensemen, did you guys see that Brent Burns signed a 1-year deal with Colorado, $1 million base and up to $3 million in performance bonuses? And when I saw him still available yesterday, Luds, I just started wondering, guy stays in great shape, doesn't miss games. Would Brett Burns have been fun in Dallas?
It would have been, and he's got a place here in the Hill Country, and so he's got all his critters there. So I you know what, that guy he's gonna knock on the door of 1,600 games possibly at some point. So, you could be talking about him as a Hall of Famer someday. I don't know. I think he's got an award or two. Does he have won a Norris? I don't know if he's won a Norris.
I thought he
he won one 2016-17.
Yeah. So I don't, it'll be a good conversation. I don't know if he's a first balloter, but it'd be nice. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be an add to that team back there, right? I mean, he's probably not going to be in their top four, but I would say that, I mean, when Brent Burns, even at 40, 41 years old, who takes care of himself, obviously, and he can still skate and shoot the puck. He doesn't put up the same kind of numbers, but I think you always have to be aware of that guy. He's not Cale Makar, but
yeah, but he can now, right? I mean, nobody puts up big numbers in Carolina, so I'm interested to see if he can jump from that 20, 30, 40 range and jump back up to the 60s for him playing on a team that's a little more fast paced and has a lot of skill to move the puck up to.
And make no mistake, I don't want to get rid of Alex Petrovic. I think he played his way into a role. I think he deserves it, but I think Brent Burns, even at 40, would have been an interesting piece alongside Leon Bichel in your third pairing.
For sure. It'd have been a great addition, I think.
Of course, they also probably would be excited. Yeah. It would have been fun for sure. But hey, what about, speaking of Colorado, they let Jonathan Drouin go. He signs as a free agent with the Islanders, 2 years at $4 million AAV. To me, he was one that disappeared in the playoffs, and part of the reason why, along with, of course, Mikko Rantanen and Jake Ottinger's play, why the Avalanche were out in the first round.
Helter skelter. You don't know what you're getting with him. I think it's one or the other. And I think there's times, like you said, he disappears, and I think he's lived on his skill for a long time, and then that kind of went away. And I think that teams have brought him in at times going, man, if we can just get him to find that skill, he's going to be a great piece. But unfortunately, it's not steady enough.
Yeah,
and it's not. When Gully wanted to add to 1% and add another hit here and there, not so much.
Yeah. If he can't do it with his old buddy McKinnon at the level that they thought, he's probably not the guy that many thought he was at the NHL level. So it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts.
What do you guys think about the big free agent left available up front, Nick Ehlers? Because he's taking his time. I obviously, other than Marner, Ehlers and Granlund were probably the top two forwards available, and Ehlers is younger. I think Mikael Granlund's a great player. I think right now, Ehlers is
not
better.
Available.
Oh, what happened?
He is a Carolina Hurricane.
No kidding. That was
the spot they were talking, and that would be a perfect spot for him.
6 year, 8.5 AAV.
Wow. 6 years, 8.5. Luds, the Winnipeg Jets have $19 million in cap space right now. You're telling me that they couldn't keep Nick Ehlers, or do you think it's more that he wanted something else?
I'm thinking he wanted to change the scenery.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that. And you know what? Like Winnipeg, he probably wants to play a freer game. And I don't want to say that Carolina's a freer team, but they're kind of play straight ahead what I mean? It's not, you don't have to think, and you don't have to, these guys, I think there's more structure to what Winnipeg does. Obviously, I think there's a ton of structure in the way that they play, and the way that they back check, the way they come into certain areas of the ice, and Carolina is just, and maybe that's kind of game he wants to play. He's a great skater. My thing, the only thing I've ever said about him is he just seems to get hurt every year, and not necessarily for long periods. So you don't know if he's going to be available at times you need him.
So let's just think about this, because we don't have a couple minutes left, but Carolina has the space to fit him there. Sam, what was the AAV on that?
8.5.
So they still will have, after signing Nick Ehlers, $10 million in cap space. That's with 15 forwards on their roster. But think about their top end guys: Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis, now Ehlers. Then you have Taylor Hall, Kotkaniemi, of course, our boy Logan Stankoven, whose extension doesn't kick in for another year. They're in pretty good shape. Having Ehlers on that roster is just going to make them better.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they take that next step, because they're in a very similar boat to Dallas, where I think they've been second to Dallas over the last 5 years or so in terms of regular season success, and they've had the playoff success. They've gotten to that conference final, but they've never looked like the team that's going to win the cup, if that makes any sense. Like they've always looked like a team that's going to make it 2 rounds, 3 rounds, but never the team that's going to get all the way to that final and win that cup. So I don't know what the missing piece is. As Lud said, we know how they play. It'll be interesting to see if they have that blend of skill, because the Rantanen one was not a fit, right? So is Ehlers going to be a fit and be able to play that straightforward game? That's the tough part with Brind'Amour's system, is you bring in skill, and sometimes it can be hard to play your game in that system. But if you can find the right way to do both, that's a lethal team.
Sam, when you say that they're taking swings, there's a couple other teams. LA's taking a swing, and you said Anaheim's taking a swing, and Mangiapane, I think, is going to be a good ad in Edmonton. I really do. I think they're going to try to take a couple swings. I'm waiting for this team we're talking about to take a swing.
But I think Ehlers' speed and his style fits Carolina's system better than the way that Rantanen does. So I don't think that'll be as big an issue there. Lastly, guys, as we sign off, because we have a day off tomorrow for the 4th of July. I hope everybody enjoys the U.S. Independence Day. And of course, we will be back next week. We have Curtis McKenzie signing another 1-year deal, AHL contract with the Texas Stars. He's been around. His rookie season was my second year in Cedar Park, which was 2013-14. So we're talking about going on into the third year of his second decade. Now, he left the Stars organization for a little while after he made his NHL debut, got that horrible injury playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But then, here he is back again. Luds, the value of I guess now elder statesman as your captain in your AHL team, can still put up points, has the physical side. Boy, that has to be such a great development tool for your minor league team.
Yeah, the first guy that comes to mind is Jordy Ben. Jordy's kind of in that similar thing. He's got so many things that when your responsibility at that level is to groom and get these young kids better, and all the things that they have to get through. And sometimes they come in thinking they're better what they are, and then they run into you hit a wall, and they don't understand why. And so I think to have a veteran like that around at that time is invaluable at times.
I saw that news, though, and I thought it was going to say Curtis McKenzie has announced as the AHL Texas Stars head coach.
Well, that's just it. With Neil Graham coming to Dallas, they are in the process of searching. I wonder if it'll be somebody outside of the organization, or will Max Fortunas or Travis Morin get a shot? Will they stay in their roles as assistant coaches? Be interesting to see, because the Stars development pipeline is a very important part of their whole formula. All right, guys. Luddy,
Lud's out of here.
Happy 4th. Sam, great stuff today. If you didn't hear our interview with Glen Gulutzan, the new Stars head coach, at the start of the episode, go back and watch it. It's great. For Elijah Smith, for the big number 3 there, who's on his way to the water right now. And for Sam, I'm Owen. Have a great weekend. Sam and Luds will be
Happy
here
4th.
Without me. I'm off for a few days vacation. I'll be back on the 10th of July, next Thursday. So I hope you enjoy what can only be a wheels off Nestler Ludwig couple of shows early next week. Have a great weekend. Happy 4th, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.